days, one didn't see it very often, and I saw Mick Jagger on the stage, and God, I mean, it did me in.
Pete Townshend, the legendary guitarist and mastermind behind The Who, was famous for more than just smashing guitars on stage. He was equally known for his harsh criticism of other bands, using his words as weapons to attack groups he felt were destroying what rock and roll truly represented. Townsend wasn't just making casual comments about music he didn't like. These were serious declarations of war against everything he believed was wrong with the music industry. Townsend saw rock music as a powerful force that could change society and challenge authority. When he encountered bands that he felt were wasting this incredible power, his reactions were nuclear. He didn't hold back when discussing groups he considered fake, boring, or completely against his vision of what music should accomplish. His criticisms weren't driven by jealousy or competition for record sales. Instead, they came from someone who truly believed in rock's ability to inspire change and connect with ordinary people. The weight of Townsend's opinions carried enormous influence throughout the music community. As the man who wrote classics like My Generation and Won't Get Fooled Again, when he criticized another band, everyone in the industry paid attention. His attacks revealed the passionate and uncompromising vision of one of rock's greatest innovators and biggest personalities. Here are the bands that faced his most explosive condemnations. Yes, the ultimate progressive rock target, Townsend reportedly considered Yes the perfect example of everything wrong with progressive rock. While millions of fans were amazed by their complex compositions and incredible musical skill, Townsend allegedly saw them as nothing more than musical showing off. He believed that their lead singer had become like a guru to his fans, creating a rise and fall story that completely ignored rock's basic purpose of connecting with regular people. Townsend supposedly hated how Yes created 20-minute songs that required advanced musical education to understand and appreciate. He felt that their complicated arrangements and classical music influences were turning rock into an elite art form that pushed out the working-class kids who originally made the genre so powerful. While critics were praising Yes for their sophistication, Townsend allegedly saw them as traitors to rock's democratic spirit. The difference in philosophy was huge. Townsend believed rock should be immediate, emotional, and accessible to everyone. Yes, on the other hand, was creating intricate musical puzzles that seemed designed to impress other musicians rather than move audiences emotionally. He reportedly said that Yes represented everything wrong with 1970s rock, with bands showing off their technical skills instead of channeling raw human emotion. What particularly annoyed Townsend was how Yes influenced countless other groups to focus on complexity over communication. He allegedly worried that young bands would see Yes's success and think that being complicated was more important than being authentic or powerful. Townsend supposedly felt that this trend was killing rock's rebellious spirit and turning it into an academic exercise that regular people couldn't understand or enjoy. Industry sources claimed that Townsend would openly mock Yes's lengthy compositions, saying that any song that required an intermission was missing the fundamental point of rock music's immediate impact and emotional directness. He believed rock should hit you right away, not require study and analysis to appreciate. Emerson, Lake Palmer. Classical pretensions gone wrong. At number 5 on the list, Emerson, Lake Palmer faced what was reportedly legendary hatred from Townsend within rock circles. He allegedly saw them as the absolute worst example of rock musicians abandoning their roots in favor of classical pretensions and technological tricks that served no real musical purpose. Townsend apparently couldn't stand Keith Emerson's keyboard theatrics, particularly his habit of playing multiple keyboards at the same time and incorporating classical pieces into rock arrangements. He reportedly felt that ELP was just showing off rather than creating genuine emotional connections with their audience. Their elaborate stage setups were supposedly compensating for a lack of real songwriting ability. The band's use of orchestras and complex arrangements reportedly drove Townsend to distraction. While ELP was being celebrated for bringing sophistication to rock music, Townsend allegedly saw them as missing the entire point of what made rock powerful in the first place. He reportedly said that rock's strength came from its simplicity and directness, not from trying to compete with symphony orchestras. What really bothered Townsend was how ELP's success encouraged other rock bands to add unnecessary complications to their music. He allegedly felt that their influence was making rock less accessible to regular people and turning it into something that required musical training to fully appreciate. Townsend supposedly believed this was fundamentally against rock's principles and anti-democratic. Concert industry insiders claimed that Townsend would deliberately schedule Who performances to conflict with ELP shows whenever possible. He would also make disparaging comments about their circus act approach to live performance during his own concerts, showing just how deep his dislike ran. The Eagles, corporate rock at its worst, the feud with T. The Eagles was particularly intense because Townsend reportedly saw them as everything wrong with American rock's commercial direction. While the Eagles were dominating radio and album sales with their polished harmonies and radio-friendly sound, Townsend allegedly viewed them as corporate rock that had abandoned all artistic integrity for mass-market appeal. Townsend supposedly couldn't tolerate how the Eagles crafted songs specifically designed for radio rotation rather than expressing genuine emotions or ideas. He reportedly felt that their careful production and calculated songwriting represented the complete commercialization of rock music, turning it from art into a product designed solely to generate profits. The band's massive success apparently made Townsend even more critical. While the Eagles were selling millions of albums and filling stadiums, Townsend allegedly felt that their popularity proved that audiences were being fed sanitized, non-threatening music that challenged nothing and changed nothing. He reportedly said that the Eagles were rock music for people who don't actually like rock music. What particularly frustrated Townsend was how the Eagles' influence was shaping the entire music industry towards safer, more commercial sounds. He allegedly worried that record companies would use the Eagles' success as a template, encouraging other bands to abandon experimentation and social commentary in favor of pleasant, marketable music. Industry gossip suggested that Townsend would become visibly upset when the Eagles received critical praise or industry awards. He felt that their recognition was encouraging the music business to prioritize profit over artistic vision and social relevance. This went against everything he believed rock music should represent. Genesis. After Peter Gabriel, the ultimate betrayal. Genesis, after Peter Gabriel's departure, faced what was reportedly brutal criticism from Townsend. While fans were divided about the band's evolution from progressive rock to pop success, Townsend allegedly saw their change as the ultimate betrayal of everything rock music was supposed to represent. Townsend supposedly despised how Genesis abandoned their experimental edge in favor of MTV-friendly videos and arena rock anthems. He reportedly felt that Phil Collins' leadership had turned the band into a pop machine that prioritized commercial success over the artistic innovation that had originally made them interesting and important. The band's massive commercial success in the 1980s apparently made Townsend's criticism even harsher. While Genesis was achieving their biggest sales and mainstream recognition, Townsend allegedly saw this as proof that they had completely sold out their artistic vision for money and fame. He reportedly said that watching Genesis's transformation was like watching your children grow up to become everything you despise. What really bothered Townsend was how Genesis's success story became a model for other progressive rock bands. He allegedly felt that their commercial evolution encouraged other experimental groups to abandon their artistic principles and chase mainstream success instead of pushing musical boundaries or challenging audiences. Record industry insiders claimed that Townsend would openly question Genesis's integrity during interviews. He suggested that their transformation from art rock to pop music represented everything wrong with how the music business corrupted genuine artists and turned them into entertainment products designed for mass consumption. The Sex Pistols, fake revolutionaries. The Sex Pistols ranking at number 2 might surprise punk fans who would expect Townsend to appreciate their rebellious attitude. Instead, he reportedly saw them as fake revolutionaries who were manufactured by their manager, Malcolm McLaren, and had no genuine understanding of what real rebellion actually meant. Townsend allegedly couldn't stand how the Sex Pistols claimed to represent authentic punk rebellion while being completely manipulated by their management team. He reportedly felt that their anti-establishment poses were just marketing strategies designed to shock audiences and sell records rather than genuine expressions of social frustration or political anger. The musical criticism was equally harsh. Townsend supposedly said that the Sex Pistols couldn't actually play their instruments well enough to be taken seriously as musicians. Their deliberately amateurish approach was insulting to bands who had spent years developing their craft. He reportedly felt that their success encouraged mediocrity and made musical incompetence seem rebellious. What particularly irritated Townsend was how the Sex Pistols were being called innovators, when he felt that The Who had been expressing genuine rebellion and social criticism for over a decade before punk existed. He allegedly resented how younger critics were treating punk as something completely new while ignoring the groundwork that earlier bands had laid. Industry sources claimed that Townsend would become genuinely angry when the Sex Pistols were compared favorably to The Who. He felt that such comparisons ignored the musical sophistication and genuine social consciousness that separated real rock rebels from manufactured punk posers. To him, there was a clear difference between authentic rebellion and marketing-driven shock tactics. Led Zeppelin, the most shocking rivalry. At number 1 sits Led Zeppelin, which represents the most shocking feud because both bands were British rock giants. However, Townsend reportedly despised almost everything about Zeppelin's approach to music and their massive success, which he considered built on stolen material and empty showmanship. Townsend allegedly couldn't stand how Led Zeppelin achieved fame by taking blues songs from Black American musicians without proper credit or compensation. He reportedly felt that their entire catalog was built on plagiarism and cultural appropriation, making their success fundamentally dishonest and exploitative of the very artists who created the music they were profiting from. The musical philosophy differences were enormous. While Townsend was trying to push rock music forward with concept albums and innovative compositions, Led Zeppelin was reportedly just recycling old blues patterns with louder amplifiers and longer guitar solos. Townsend allegedly said that Zeppelin represented everything backwards about rock music, looking to the past instead of creating the future. What really infuriated Townsend was how Led Zeppelin's massive commercial success overshadowed bands who were actually innovating and creating original material. He reportedly felt that their popularity proved that audiences preferred familiar blues patterns, played loudly over genuine artistic development and social commentary. The personal rivalry became even more intense because both bands were competing for similar audiences and critical recognition. Townsend allegedly resented how Zeppelin was being called the greatest rock band in the world when he felt that their entire reputation was built on stolen songs and Robert Plant's theatrical posturing, rather than real musical achievement. Industry insiders claimed that Townsend would actively avoid events where Led Zeppelin members were present. Nonetheless, he would make cutting remarks about their borrowed success whenever their accomplishments were mentioned in his presence. He reportedly saw their legacy as fundamentally fraudulent and harmful to rock music's development. The deeper philosophy behind the feuds. These rivalries reveal much more than simple musical disagreements. They show Townsend's deep philosophical beliefs about what rock music should accomplish and represent. He viewed rock as a democratic art form that should be accessible to everyone, especially working-class people who couldn't afford expensive musical education or sophisticated cultural background. Townsend believed that rock's power came from its ability to express raw human emotions and challenge social authority. When he saw bands that seemed to prioritize technical showing off over emotional connection, or commercial success over artistic integrity, he felt they were betraying rock's fundamental purpose. His criticism of progressive rock bands like Yes and ELP wasn't just about their complex musical arrangements. It was about his fear that rock was becoming an elite art form that excluded the very people it was originally created to serve. He worried that when rock became too complicated or academic, it lost its ability to speak directly to people's hearts and inspire social change. Similarly, his hatred of bands like the Eagles wasn't just about their commercial success. It was about his belief that they were turning rock into a product designed to make money, rather than an art form designed to challenge society and express genuine human experiences. He saw their calculated approach to songwriting as the opposite of rock's authentic, rebellious spirit. The Sex Pistols represented a different kind of betrayal to Townsend. While they claimed to be authentic rebels, he saw them as manufactured products designed to shock and sell records. This was particularly offensive to him because he had spent years genuinely challenging authority and social norms through his music. only to see punk bands get credit for rebellion that he felt was completely fake. Led Zeppelin's case was the most complex because they were undeniably talented musicians. However, Townsend's criticism focused on what he saw as their fundamental dishonesty in building their success on uncredited material from black blues musicians. This wasn't just about musical plagiarism. It was about cultural exploitation and the failure to acknowledge the roots of rock music. The legacy of Townsend's criticism. Looking back at these feuds, it's clear that Townsend's criticisms came from a place of deep passion and genuine concern for rock music's future. Whether people agreed with his opinions or not, his willingness to speak out showed how much he cared about maintaining rock's integrity and social purpose. Some of his predictions proved accurate. The music industry did become increasingly commercial and formulaic, with record companies often prioritizing safe, marketable sounds over artistic innovation. Many progressive rock bands did abandon their experimental approaches in favor of more commercial directions. However, music history has also shown that diversity in rock music wasn't necessarily a bad thing. The technical innovations of bands like Yes and LP influenced countless musicians and expanded rock's possibilities. The commercial success of bands like the Eagles proved that rock could reach massive audiences without necessarily losing all artistic value. The punk movement, despite Townsend's criticism of the Sex Pistols, did bring new energy and authenticity to rock music, even if some bands were more manufactured than others. And Led Zeppelin, whatever their flaws in crediting source material, created some of the most influential and beloved rock music in history. Townsend's feuds ultimately reveal a man who cared deeply about rock music's power and potential. His criticisms, while sometimes harsh and perhaps unfair, came from someone who had dedicated his life to pushing rock music forward and using it as a force for social change. Whether he was right or wrong in specific cases, his passion for maintaining rock's integrity and authenticity remains admirable. These rivalries also show how rock music has always been about more than just entertainment. For artists like Townsend, it was a powerful cultural force that could shape society and challenge authority. His feuds weren't just about musical preferences. They were about competing visions of what rock music should be and what it should accomplish in the world. The intensity of these conflicts demonstrates how much was at stake for the musicians involved. They weren't just making music. They were participating in a cultural revolution that would influence generations of artists and fans. Townsend's willingness to fight for his vision, even when it made him enemies, shows the depth of his commitment to rock music's transformative power.